Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss Blue Beetle, starring Jolo Maraduena, Bruna Marquezine, Becky G, Damian Alcazar, Adriana Barraza, Belissa Escobedo, Elfridia Carrillo, Harvey Guillen, Raul Max Trujillo, Susan Sarandon, and George Lopez, directed by Angel Manuel Soto. Now, before I get into this movie, I gotta say, DC, where's the Aquaman 2 trailer? You never got it in front of the movie, so I have a feeling the damn thing's never coming out. Either that or you're gonna have to scrap it. I don't care what you guys say, or any of you Snyder fans for that matter, because you almost scrapped the Flash, you scrapped Batgirl, but you gotta scrap Aquaman if you're not gonna show a damn trailer for it. Let's move on. Now, I went to this movie twice with wondering if there was an Aquaman 2 trailer in front. And I'm going to be brutally honest, I wasn't excited about this movie because I thought it was going to be a dumb DC movie with some stupid humor in it. But let's see how stupid this movie is. Let's get into it. We start the movie off in the middle of nowhere at nighttime, and we get Cord Industries, led by Victoria Cord, played by Susan Sarandon, along with her bodyguard Carapax, played by Raul Max Trujillo, whom I've reviewed before in Sicario and seen him in a couple of movies like Riddick and Cold Pursuit, along with Dr. Sanchez, played by Harvey Guillen, whom I also reviewed before in Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, and seen him in The Internship and recently in Strays. As Carapax is just a bland muscle man, and Dr. Sanchez, I could take him or leave him, but the one I'm not sure what she's doing here is Susan Sarandon. And I do like her as an actress. I won't hold Mr. Woodcock against her. That's coming up, and you'll see why. But she deserves better than this. And what was she after at this, as this whole movie will explain a little later? We learned during the opening credits that her brother Ted went missing as we get to Palmyra City, where we meet Jaime Reyes, played by Jolo Marquezine. I don't know if I'm saying that name right. Please forgive me. And I don't know, as I've never watched Cobra Kai, but when the new Karate Kid comes out, I'm gonna have to get. I'm gonna have to get there as he gets home from the airplane, and we meet his family along with Father Alberto, played by Damian Alcazar, who was in one of the Chronicles of the Narnia movies, and I don't remember him in it. Nana, played by Adriana Barraza, whom I reviewed a couple times with the last Rambo film, Last Blood, and the first Thor film. His sister Milagro, played by Belissa Escobedo. His mother Rocio, played by Ophelia Carrillo, whom I reviewed in the first two Predator films. And Uncle Rudy, played by George Lopez. I've known George Lopez for a while. As they lose the ship, no thanks, and they lose the house, no thanks to Cord, and might lose the house, or the shop, I mean to say, and might lose the house, no thanks to Cord Industries, as well as they're going to be homeless. But Jaime and Milagro get a job at the home of Victoria Cord, while we meet Jenny Cord, played by Bruna Marquezine, who I don't know at all, as she visits Victoria, and she said she is nothing to this company. While Jenny shows off, Victoria is doing the company, and Jaime and gets briefly involved, and he gets himself and Milagro fired from the house, and Jenny gives him her number as she offers him a job at the company in the building where she works at. And later at night, Jaime says he'll accept while Nana watches the TV, and I see Kronos on it as well as some other things. I don't recognize this, and this feels like a Spider-Man ripoff where he loses jobs and he has very little money and gets an interview as Jenny's building. And as he gets there, Jenny steals a machine like a Beetle, and this thing reminded me of that Guillermo del Toro film Kronos, where it'll attach to a human to become a superhero, whereas in Kronos he becomes a monster. As she puts it in a burger box, and she gives him the box and says, "Guard it with your life." And Jaime brings it home, and Victoria was looking for that in the beginning of the movie, while Jaime gets the Beetle attached to him, not on purpose, by the way, while Uncle Rudy sounds like he's screaming and running from Godzilla, as the Blue Beetle suit is on him, and the suit is also called, let me see if I'm saying this right, Kaji Da, who is the voice of the singer Becky G, as it takes him to a ride in space like Iron Man tried to do, and succeeded to flying across the river and cutting a bus in half, which was a little tedious. But I do like these characters as they're relatable, and this plot is better than I thought it was going to be, honestly. But to be fair, not as good as the first Wonder Woman movie. But I mean, again, DC is a dead universe with, well, not DC in general, but the Snyderverse, I should say. Jaime comes back, and as the suit and clothes dissolves, he gets naked and knocked out, and as he awakens, he sees the Beetle attached to his back, and he wants to get Jenny as he drives Uncle Rudy's truck named the Taco, which is kind of funny, but not in a racial way. There's other reasons, and he finds Jenny as some bad guys try to go after her and shoot up the Taco, and Rudy gets irritated about the Taco getting shot up, and Jenny tells Jaime it is called the Scarab. They talk about getting the key from the Cord building, and Victoria gets alerted by Carapax, and Victoria tells him to get Jenny some of the... It's funny, but in both my viewings, they bring up some things that are a little inappropriate for children under 13, as this is a PG-13 rated movie, and I also did like the commercial that distracts the guards, as it will appear after the credits, which was pointless. Not as pointless as the Flash's after credit scene with Aquaman, which you need to get that movie out as far as the trailers goes, DC. But let's move on. But anyways, Carapax runs towards Jenny and almost punches her, and Blue Beetle throws him on his ass as he pulls off his alter ego that is half Doc Ock and half Iron Man. And this fight scene is kind of cool, as Rudy and Jenny saves his life with the horn that sounds like the horn in Ant-Man, and Carapax sounds like kind of like Megatron from Transformers, if you ask me correctly. And Jenny hides Jaime and Rudy in a place where nobody can find him, and Ted, who is Jenny's father, is the Blue Beetle, and Rudy accepts Jenny as a good person, and these characters really grew on me. Jenny talks with Jaime about another life as a rich person, and they almost kiss until Rudy interrupts, and I thought, is George Lopez trying to make this into an awkward comedy? Because it was the wrong time to do that, as Rudy says it sticks with him for the rest of his life and goes for a walk to the roof. And I like the backstory of the character of Jaime Reyes and Jenny Cord, as these two have chemistry. Pretty good one, too. Victoria goes to the house of the Reyes to try to find Jaime, while he jumps off the roof to fly to the house as the Blue Beetle, and as he arrives there, he protects his family until Milagro trips and gets stopped by the cops, with Cord and Carapax, and Alberto, aka the father, has a heart attack and dies in the middle of their yard. While they capture Jaime and their house is on fire, and these effects did look pretty good in my opinion. Next day comes, and Jenny knows where Victoria is, taking Jaime in her secret lair with Carapax and Dr. Sanchez, and Jenny decided to bring the family, even Nana, to the lair. As we get there, Victoria awakens Jaime and tries to switch Jaime's powers to Carapax, while Jenny gets the family prepared, and Milagro gets a thing for a fist, which did look pretty cool. While Nana, we learn it was a badass before she was the Nana they know nowadays. And they get to the lair by tearing up the parachutes, and Rudy pulls them up by using Beetle legs like Batman did in the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, which was a funny comparison, and it farts on the bad guys, and I thought that was very unnecessary, because it wasn't. It was very unnecessary. Carapax holds a picture of his family in Guatemala and a necklace-looking thing while Jenny and Milagro try to get Jaime out of captivity. And Jaime flashes through his eyes and sees Alberto surrounded by candles because he's dead, as he might be dying until Alberto tells Jaime he has to go back to the living, while Alberto is unfortunately dead. And Jaime gets to the light of the Blue Beetle, and I like this movie's message, which is about family. How many movies have I seen that message go through, though? I'm not even going to lie to you right there. It's not original. The power of Carapax is physically at 100%, and Jaime wakes up and is out of the trap while Kajida has to reboot, and Dr. Sanchez lets him out and tells Victoria Sanchez is not his name, and he says his actual name, which I can't pronounce very well. And Carapax turns into the even a more sounding like Megatron evil villain, while Jaime tries to get out of the lair and bumps into some bad guys, and Nana kills the bad guys, which was funny in a badass way, while Jenny and Milagro get split up. Nana brings Jaime, back to the ship and says Jenny and Milagro are still looking for them, while Milagro almost gets killed by the bad guys until Jaime beats the bad guys' asses. And Jenny is captured by Victoria and Carapax fighting Jaime, and he says you don't deserve this power. And I'm thinking the Abomination said it better in The Incredible Hulk than Carapax did in this movie, as he stabs Jaime in the ribs, and Kaji Da powers down, and he brings up his family again, making him weak, and he's led to believe Carapax killed Rudy, and Jaime tries to kill Carapax as he loses control. He almost does, until Kaji Da disengages and shows Jaime Carapax's memories in Guatemala. And Jaime decides to spare his life while Victoria takes Jenny to the helicopter, and she spits out some gum that grows bigger and bigger and explodes the helicopter. Jaime lets Carapax up and tells him his family is what makes him strong. And Jenny smashes Victoria's machine, and Carapax lets Jaime and Jenny go as he kills Victoria by self-destructing him. And Victoria blows up the lair, which makes me think of the movie. This movie isn't as dumb as I thought it was going to be. Jaime gets on the ship and sees Rudy is alive, and they hug it out with Jenny about Alberto, as Jenny takes over the company with the Reyes family's neighbors showing up at the house for Alberto's funeral. And Jenny shows up and gives the house back to Reyes and gives Rudy a new truck, and Jaime takes Jenny to her dad's place as they kiss and fly away, and credits briefly roll to a scene of Ted Kord giving Jenny the message that he is alive as well. And after the credits, like I brought up, was the animated commercial that was pointless, but this climax is fun to watch, as I had a good time with this movie, and I hope it's a better time than that new Aquaman thing, because I've heard rumor has it that they're testing kind of poorly for Aquaman 2 I'm talking about. Now it's time for my rating. I'll give this movie a 7.0 out of 10. Not as good as the first Wonder Woman film, but I do like this movie as well as the plot and characters as they grew on me. But George Lopez is trying to make this a comedy, which isn't supposed to be the movie, as this movie's message is about family, and I like that message. But come on, how many times have you told that story, Hollywood? The romance between Jaime and Jenny was good, and they have good chemistry, but at the same time, I don't know what Susan Sarandon was doing in this movie, but the fight scenes was kind of cool. And the effects did look pretty good. The concept of this movie reminded me of so many movies like Spider-Man, Kronos, somewhat Iron Man, Ant-Man, and somewhat Transformers, as this might be the third best of the DCEU, as Wonder Woman is second, and the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League is at the top. And this is third best for me, as this is a recommendation, but I'm going to be brutally honest. After Aquaman 2, depending on if that thing ever gets out there, the Snyderverse is dead. I'm not going to lie. Those of you that want to fight me on this, you're going to not win this fight. I will not lie. So I'd like to thank you guys for joining me, and until we get to Aquaman 2, justice has been served.